Alright, everyone. So right here, if I look at number 5, rotation 90 clockwise about the origin. So if I look at my cheat sheet over here, I'm going to be able to actually know what I actually have to do. So for 90 degrees clockwise or 70 degrees counterclockwise, the only thing I really have to change is the x. So if an x is positive, I can switch it to negative. If it is negative, I switch it to positive. And then after I actually change the signs, I will actually flip the x and the y axis. So for an instance, over here we have a 0 and a negative 1. So I'm going to flip first the x and the y axis, and then we know that 0 cannot be positive or negative, so it's going to stay the same. And then over here I'm going to flip it as well. So we have negative 5 comma 0, and 0 cannot be positive or negative, it's just neutral. And over here I'm going to flip it as well. Negative 5 comma negative 3. And the reason why I switched it to negative 3 because it is opposite of positive 3. And then remember, we're switching clockwise. We flip x and y, but before we flip them, we also want to change the sign to the opposite. If it's positive, negative. If it's negative, it's positive. And now we're going to go over rotation 90 degrees clockwise about the origin. So it is going to be the exact same thing. So we're going to go follow the same steps. So instead, we're going to switch the x and the y. But before we switch them, we're actually going to put it in first. So the opposite of 1 will be negative 1. The opposite of 4 will be negative 4. And the opposite of 3, it's negative 3. And then I just plot in the remaining that I have. 2. Awesome. And then the rotation of 180 degrees about the origin, you pretty much don't have to change x and y, like flip them around. The only thing you do is to flip the sign. So instead of a positive, it will be a negative. So we're going to leave everything the same. So 0 is not positive or negative, so you're going to leave it the same. 1 is negative, so the opposite of negative is positive. So you have 1. Now let's go for point B. Point B has a negative 3, so that means we're going to flip it and we're going to do a positive. The opposite of positive 3 is negative 3. Point C. The opposite of positive 5 is negative 5. Comma. The opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. The opposite of H, point H, coordinate, negative 4 will be positive 4. And then 0 will remain the same. And this sheet over here is a cheat sheet. This tells you when you flip it 90 degrees clockwise or 70 degrees counterclockwise, you only switch the x and the opposite sign of x. Over here, when you do 90 degrees counterclockwise, it also explains that instead of switching the positive to a negative on the y, on the x, it will be the y. And over here, when it's 180 degrees counterclockwise or clockwise, you only switch the signs of an x and a y. So this can be located with me, or you can see it around in College Track as well. So with that being said, those are the rotations of counterclockwise, either 90 degrees or 180 degrees, and that'll be it for this portion.